Hi, everyone. This is Eric Pennington with the Spirit of EQ, and today's podcast is on enhancing emotional literacy. The word literacy in many terms is considered to be connected with intelligence. In many ways it is. But today, what we're going to do is focusing on how you can enhance what you probably already have and maybe don't even realize you have. And we'll be back with Jeff here in a moment.
Life is a journey. Spirit of EQ helps shape and guide the road ahead for individuals, leaders, teams, and organizations striving to realize their full potential through emotional intelligence. Spirit of EQ is a coaching and consulting company that assists individuals and businesses to reach their full potential by developing emotional intelligence. In business, managers and leaders recognize the value of training to develop leadership skills. What they may not realize is that those skills are far more effective when they pay attention to not only performance, but also to people. Emotional intelligence is a crucial skill because people drive performance and emotions drive people. After this podcast, listen for a special opportunity to learn more.
Well, you already know this. This is enhancing emotional literacy. So here we go. How about a basic definition of emotional literacy?
Emotional literacy is to take the emotions that we all feel and to learn to, one, recognize them, not only in yourself, but in other people, and then dig a little bit deeper and try to figure out what that emotion is telling you. Emotions are there to help you identify what's going on around you. So when you can do that, it'll help you interact with the people. It'll also help you interact with yourself so that you really understand what's happening. If you feel a strong emotion and you don't know what's causing it, you're going to be all wound up or bound up and not be able to do anything. Or if you feel kind of a nagging, not quite as intense motion, it's still telling you something. There's some situation that you don't know what it is, more than likely, that you're going to need to address.
Before this show, I was looking through some of your materials, and you have something that was really intriguing to me. Emotions are chemical. Can you explain that a little bit?
Okay, I'm not going to get into all the neurological mumbo-jumbo because I can't.
So my head's not going to explode?
No, your head's not going to explode.
All right, good deal.
Because I can't pronounce most of the terms they use. But the basic of emotion is when you're confronted with something, your brain dumps some chemicals into your system. One of the ways to describe it, there's a kind of not really smart part of your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is there for protection. So if you're walking through the woods and a bear jumps out in front of you, that amygdala is going to dump a bunch of chemicals. You can always look those up. It doesn't really matter for our purposes to name them.
Sure.
But they're going to dump into your system. And what that does is get you ready to either fight the bear, not probably a good idea, to run from the bear, flight, to freeze, play dead, or to flock, find a group of people to help you fight the bear. It also works the same way if you're working in your office and somebody comes up and didn't get a project complete and it makes you angry because they promised that would happen. That amygdala, because it's not very smart, reacts the same way and dumps those chemicals into your system to get you ready to fight the person, to avoid flight from the person, freeze, just lock up and don't do anything, or flock, I'm going to go tell the boss, or whatever. So
when you say that, it almost sounds like, throughout the day, we're confronted with all these situations of fear, of anger, and all the rest. This is happening all the time?
All the time. You're bombarded with all kinds of emotions. And the one thing to remember about emotions are that they're neutral. An emotion is not a positive or a negative. It's what you do with the emotion that turns it into getting a positive result or a negative result. With fear, once again, let's not talk about fear. Let's talk about anger. Very strong emotion.
Yeah.
So you see a situation that makes you angry. So you have two directions you can go. You can choose to get into a fight, to confront, and have a very direct reaction to whatever that situation is, which is more than likely not going to turn out well. It might give you a little bit of a satisfaction right when it's happening, but on the long term, it's not. Or you can decide to go down a response path to the anger. Okay, this is making me angry. What can I do to change that situation? If it's something like you see a social injustice, I can confront and fix this one little bit of the problem, or I can respond and, okay, I'm going to get involved in finding a solution for whatever that social injustice is. So they're both drivers, but it's what you do with them. And it's the same way with all the emotions, even like an emotion like joy can be turned into a negative or a positive. So, the negative would be, this makes me really good, so I'm going to gorge myself on whatever that is, or to take it in moderation.
So kind of the too much of a good thing can be bad too.
So that's why we really look at all the emotions as neutral.
Okay. So in a minute here, we're going to go over some of the 8 basics around this, but there was something else that I saw, the job of the emotion. What does that mean?
It's what we talked about. The job of the emotion is to give you information.
Okay.
It's
gotcha.
like when you're little and you touch a hot stove and you feel that pain's job is to tell you this is not something you should continue to do. And so hopefully you learn from that not to touch a hot stove. And that's the same thing with the emotion. That emotion is just giving you information about what's going on around you. Most of the time you really can't, it's not giving you exactly what it is. It's just telling you there's something there. And then by enhancing your emotional literacy, you can figure out what the situation is.
Okay. So let's go over these 8 basics. And are these competencies or?
No, they've broken emotions down into 8 basic emotions.
Oh, okay. So we're going to touch basic. Okay, yeah, I gotcha. Sure.
This enhancing emotional literacy is one of the 8 competencies that we work with.
Gotcha.
So there's anger. We kind of talked about that. It's there to help you with problems, to recognize problems and things like that. Then another emotion is anticipation. I'd like that. I'm looking forward to that. Then we have disgust. And disgust, basic job is to tell you when something is unhealthy, whether it's physically unhealthy, like drinking milk that went bad,
gotcha.
Or emotionally, spiritually unhealthy, what's going to hurt you that way. Fear is to protect us from danger, pretty simple. Joy is there to remind us about what's important. When you feel joyful about something, that's something that is very important to you, and it's just a deeper thing. It's deeper than happiness. Joy and happiness are not the same. Then there's sadness. It's to connect with the things that you love when you lose something, when something doesn't go well for someone else or something doesn't go well for you. It's a connection thing. Surprise is there to tell us about a new situation, or a new thought, or a new person, or something about it, somebody else. It's to let us know there's something new there that I want to explore. And then trust. Trust is a connection with other people where you can rely on each other. And there's a lot of different degrees to these 8 basic emotions.
There's one thing I was going to ask you within that. And obviously, it's not like we can pick and choose what emotions we have because we're human beings, right? And I think about, again, the fast-paced of life, the distractions, the busyness. And this is really small, but it could mean a lot to people. What would be one thing that you would recommend that a person do when they're confronting any of these? Is it stop and think, reflect? What would you say? Just one little tidbit.
Like we said about the emotions being chemicals. There's a very interesting, this is scientifically proven, that those chemicals do not last long in your system.
Ooh.
They last about 6 seconds. And if you can control your response to an emotion, control your reaction to an emotion for 6 seconds, then you'll be able to respond in a more suitable way.
Wow, so maybe it's a 1001, 1002, right?
the counting to 10. If you count to 10, that's about 6 seconds. Lynette, one of the ladies that I work with, she names the dwarfs in alphabetical order. The dwarfs from Snow White.
Yeah.
Okay, because she has to shut down everything else and concentrate on that. So if you can get through that 6 seconds, then you can respond in a thoughtful, rational way rather than reacting in a most likely a negative way.
A negative way. Yeah. Okay.
6 seconds, the company that we work with that provides all our assessment tools, that's why they're named that.
Interesting.
And then the main assessment tool we use is SEI, SEI, which is 6 in Italian.
Interesting.
So that's a very basic thing to think about.
That's a powerful tip, Jeff. I think about it in my own life and some of the examples that I can even just recently where I'm going, you know what, either I did take a moment to I'm going to take 10 breaths, or there are times certainly where I've said, charge on in, I've got to fix, and then, face some of the consequences.
My wife and I are dealing with this right now. We have a new dog.
Oh my.
And she's a great dog, but she's still a big puppy. So
been there.
Okay, she's just being a puppy. Okay, I got to count to the 10.
Just being a puppy. Just being a puppy.
Yeah.
Very good.
I really didn't need that pair of shoes anymore.
I see. I'm going to just forewarn you. I'm going to butcher this guy's name or this gal's name.
Okay.
Is it the Plutchick model?
Plutchick.
Okay. I did butcher it. So tell us a little bit about that.
What it is they take those 8 basic emotions and kind of put them into categories and then rank them. So let's look at joy.
All right.
Okay. Joy is kind of in the middle, but in that same thing is ecstasy, which is joy times 10.
It's almost like that euphoric feeling.
Yes, euphoric feeling.
Okay.
And then you go outward in this chart and you go to serenity, which is just, I'm content, I'm happy, life is good. Mm-hmm. And it does the same thing like with disgust. Disgust times 10 is loathing. Disgust is one thing, but loathing is almost an action. You loathe someone or something.
It does have that connotation, doesn't it?
So, but then you go one out from disgust, then you have boredom. I just don't really care about this. It doesn't interest me. That's what the Plutchick model is.
Okay.
And people can look that up. There's all different kinds of these models, but just the Plutchick model for emotions.
So if I were to ask you, Jeff, I know I have some thoughts in my head. Why would that be important for the listeners to know these, not only the 8 emotions, but that model and how?
To understand that emotions can have degrees, can have strengths. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, you might be feeling this. Okay. I need to know what the root is. What is the basis of this emotion? So being able to do that enhances your emotional literacy. Most people think there's 15 or 20 emotions, but depending on what study, I've seen up to 10,000 emotions.
Oh my. Yeah. So I'm getting it really. You're saying this, increasing our literacy, our knowledge of the emotions that are running through us gives us a better chance on a daily basis to manage them, right?
Yes. Well, one of the competencies we'll get to in a future podcast is something called navigating emotions, being able to work through emotions. But the thing about navigating is no matter what, whether you're navigating with your GPS in your car or the map at the mall to, you want to go to the Starbucks, you have to know where you start from before you can navigate.
Yeah, that's a great insight.
So that's why this is the first competency. You can't go any place until you know where you're starting from.
Got it. So it's completeness. Okay. So let's talk about a word that some people really cringe when they hear it, but I think it's important. So if we wanted to give the listeners some kind of homework assignment, just to do on their own, maybe something, just quick and easy or whatever. Mm-hmm. Throw something out there, Jeff.
All right. One of the things I've had people do that maybe are struggling with this is as you go through your day, you can keep it on your phone, you can write it on a piece of paper, just try to write down the emotions that you're feeling. What emotions did I feel today? It's best if you do it as you go through the day and then try to dig a little bit deeper and figure out what is causing that emotion. Why am I feeling longing. You're longing for something, but you might not know what it is.
Well, let me throw this out to you.
Okay.
So let's say I'm in the office and I came in at 8 and I typically take my lunch at noon, and there's a bunch of things that happen between the 8 and noon time. Mm-hmm. So maybe I take a little time after a conference call to go, felt anger at another division VP who was saying things that were not exactly accurate. Boom, go into a staff meeting, felt surprised because they're talking about bringing in a new consultant to help us get better at X. Mm-hmm. So maybe you're just jotting that down because, again, everybody's moving at lightning pace. Could lunchtime be that period of time where you maybe delve into what you wrote down? Okay,
like the surprise for somebody new coming into the organization. Mm-hmm. You've kind of, that emotion has kind of run its course, chemically and physically and all that kind of thing.
Right.
But now you can rationally go, okay, why was I surprised? Mm-hmm. What is the outcome going to be? Is this person going to help the organization? What is the truth behind this rather than me just feeling threatened or, anxiety because,
right.
Are they going to replace me or, that kind of thing?
Okay.
And all these things also work. We need to remember in your home life, your social life, every part of your life. So you just don't want to separate out work life.
Yeah, that's a great insight. Because I imagine that there's a number of people because work is such a dominant part of living that they may think those other things, well, I'll get to those later or something, mm-hmm. right? But you can do this at home with your son, your daughter, your wife, or mm-hmm. maybe a neighbor or whatever. It does not mean just in that big 8-hour window that we call work, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Well, Jeff, thanks again for joining us. I had a great time. This is Eric Pennington with The Spirit of EQ, and I'm with Jeff East of The Spirit of EQ. Hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks for subscribing and listening to the Spirit of EQ podcast with Jeff East and Eric Pennington. Spirit of EQ is a preferred partner of 6 Seconds, the Emotional Intelligence Network. 6 Seconds is a nonprofit organization researching what works in emotional intelligence. Best practices are shared through methods and tools that are global, scientific, and transformational. To find out more about Spirit of EQ or to request a speaker, go to spiritofeq.com. Our contact information is in the podcast show notes as well. And now for our special offer.
Hi, this is Jeff again. I just want to let everybody know that if you have any questions or want more information about anything we've talked about, just send me a quick email. And my email is jeff@spiritofeq.com, and I'll get right back with you. Thanks.
Circle270media.com